Any questions? Over there at the back.
Thank you. You said something about the CO response being in writing in case of any changes. Would that be by email or a physical letter?
It depends. Okay, so if it is something that is small, $100, I mean, I'm not going to give you any numbers, but usually it has to be in writing either in email or in a physical letter, but depending on the nature of change, it must be in writing. I can give you an example. For example, if it's a construction contract, okay, and construction contracts are very complicated, and sometimes what seems like a small change can have a big impact. So in a case like that, you'll need really to do it in writing. The practice is we'd like to do all of our changes in writing, either in an email or a physical letter, but preferably in a letter, I'd say that. And any modifications, that was the question. Any modifications to the contract? Good question, thank you.
My question is to do with evaluation, because that's where most challenges are. The technical evaluation and the financial evaluation. I would like to inquire, do you base on quality when you are buying or price?
Okay. The answer is, John is coaching me here, and he said yes. So what that means is, of course, we care about quality, and of course, we care about price. So you need to be the provider the best quality at the best price. I hope that answers your question. It really is as simple as that. Next question, over there in the back.
Thank you. My question is about the BPAs.
Okay.
You are supposed to make your supplies and then invoice once every month.
Right.
And once you invoice, it takes you guys to pay in 1 month.
Up to a month, yes.
Okay, so I just want you to make it clear. Do people have to wait for 2 months to get paid? Because that makes it 2 months.
Right. I understand, and the answer is in the standard setup, that is the correct answer. So it's possible that you will have to come at your capital for about 2 months until you get paid. Now, I can tell you that we always pay our bills, but that doesn't help you in terms of having capital tied up. Now, in certain cases, at the discretion of the contracting officer, we may accept invoices twice a month, okay? But those are usually exceptional circumstances, but it is possible for us to accept invoices twice a month. Next question, there's a gentleman over here. Augustine, behind you.
Thank you, Rao. My name is James. And
Thank you, James.
Sinotech Uganda Limited. My major challenge is during the contracting process or during the process of site visits, we usually come up with several recommendations as contractors, and your procurement team or your procurement officer usually confirms that this really needs to be changed. Now, in your sheet of specifications, usually you specify what you want, but afterwards when you go back, make quotations, they come out differently. You have a different BOQ, different pricing.
I see. Let me make sure I understood your question and I'll paraphrase it. So what you're saying is that we issue a solicitation, we conduct a site visit.
Sure.
During the course of the site visit, we make some modifications or come up with additional line items, let's say, to include. And then you're saying that when we issue the contract, those additions don't show up?
Sometimes they don't.
Okay.
And then, of course, with experts, trying to come up with a BOQ, everyone presents a different BOQ.
Right.
Now, if you're setting a different exam, or setting your own exam, and you sit it, you can never compete with someone who also set his own and sat it.
Right.
So, my concern is, why don't you come up with a standard BOQ, a standard exam that we all sit and compete every?
No, that is exactly how it is supposed to work, okay? Now, I'm not familiar if there's a specific case that you have in your mind where that did happen, but I encourage you to come and talk to me later on if that is the case. But, of course, when we evaluate solicitations, like you say, like anybody would argue, they have to be comparable, which means they must contain the same elements, right, in the bill of materials or the bill of quantities. And we make sure that that is indeed the case, okay? And if there's a specific example where you've seen that not happen, please come and talk to me. But that is our standard practice. Okay. Thank you. The gentleman here in the front.
Hi, my name is Dennis. We need some more information on the standards of quality you set for each category of procurement. And also probably some more information on the overview of the different categories. For example, general merchandise, this is the standards you set in the quality, foodstuffs, construction. But even more so, would you prefer locally manufactured goods as opposed to goods from abroad? Would like more information on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. So the question was in two parts, I think. First, how do we publish our standards? And the second part was, will we accept goods from a certain origin, or do we give preferential treatment for goods from a certain origin? As far as the first question, in terms of how we determine what the acceptable standards are, it depends on the situation and depends on the service. Okay, I cannot give you a general answer. But we do have standards, and we have experts that work for us in the embassy. So, let's take, construction work. Actually, you guys walked in today in the middle of some upgrades that we're doing here, so things look a little shabby, and I apologize for that. If you come back in a few months, it'll all look good. But we do have a contractor that, for example, is painting this warehouse. And now we expect certain standards when it comes to painting, a commercial property. And we have experts that will meet with you, that will actually look at the valuation that you submit. And most of what we look at is, when we don't know you, is prior experience, right? We may call your references that you might have listed, and if you have good references, you've done work for the British Embassy, we're good friends with the British, so we might call them and ask about you. So that is how we generally, look at standards and how you adhere to the standards. Now, as far as the second part of the question, whether we have preferences for any goods that originate in certain locations, we do not. Not for goods that we procure locally. Now, if you were all in the United States, my answer would be different. Okay? Yeah, and John has something to add.
Also, when we take our requirements from our customers inside the embassy, and usually they'll be very specific what they want. So when we send out a procurement order for a certain item, it'll be very specific. It might even be down to the brand name. And so, if we ask for a Sony TV, we want a Sony or something equivalent. Yeah. So it's usually pretty specific. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Raise your hand so we can see you over there. Oh, okay.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Barnabas. In one of the slides, you spoke about other entities which also do procurement, and one of it was CBC. So I'm inquiring, where can we get the procurement notices of those other entities? For the US mission, we've known. How about those other entities?
Okay. Barnabas, thank you so much for coming today and asking the question. Your question was, how do you know about CDC procurements? This procurement team here does procurement for all agencies in the embassy. So it will be published on this very website. Next question.
Maybe mine may be somehow related to what he has just asked.
Okay.
About the implementing partners like the USA funded projects. Do they also follow the same, say, pre-qualified list of yours, or they have their own autonomy to buy where they feel like they want? Okay.
A good question. The question was, do the USA funded partners, how do they fit into this entire picture? And USAID, has a big mission in Uganda. They have various initiatives, to mitigate the spread of HIV and malaria and all kinds of health initiatives. And they spend a lot of money in this country. However, USAID, when they work with their implementing partners, they hand out what are called grants. Those are not procurements, okay? Those are grants. So all grants are handled by USAID, and from what I understand, they publish all the needs when they have a particular initiative, I don't know, to build, to provide mosquito nets in some village in Uganda. They have their own process that they follow for working with implementing partners. Unfortunately, what we do here is quite different. We do procurements, not grants. Okay, I hope that answered the question. Next question.
Thank you. I'm Patrick
Can
Dino.
you raise your hand? I can't see you. Oh, okay. Thank you, Patrick. You're right behind the pillar there.
Okay. Yeah. For construction projects, what conditions of contract do you use? Do you use the local conditions where you look at PPDA, or of late the construction industry they are tending to use the FIDI conditions of contract? So I just wanted to inquire which conditions do you use?
Okay. Thank you so much for that question. So all of our contracts are really boilerplate, and they are governed by U.S. law and local law where it applies. Okay, so we maintain our own standards for what we expect in terms of, say, a construction contract. We expect you to provide insurance, for example, to your employees that might be working at a construction site, and we will specify all of that. At the same time, there might be certain local laws and regulations that govern the particular activity in this country. So if for example, you are required to register with some entity here before you offer a construction service, we expect that you comply with those rules and regulations. And we will specify that in our contract. Next question. The gentleman over here, to my right.
Good morning, Mr. Rao.
Good morning.
My name is Nitin. I just want to ask one question. You said that the selection of a supplier will depend on the past performances and maybe some references like example of British Embassy or whatever. Does it mean that the past performance of a company, say it has a turnover of 1 billion, so the projects, so you put it into, you categorize according to the value of turnovers of the past experiences or past supplies, or is it still an open chance for somebody to perform?
That's a good question, Nathan. Thank you for coming this morning. And I can't give you a set answer. It depends on the specific contract we're talking about, okay? So for example, let's talk about this warehouse. Let's say I want to tear this down and build a new one, right? Now that's a pretty big project. I'd expect somebody to have a turnover in the order of millions of dollars every year to have the capital and the resources to carry out the project, right? And somebody that, has the capital and experience, I may not really call their references because maybe they have a good established brand. So it depends on the circumstances. So if we take the opposite end of the spectrum, if somebody here, has a business with 2 employees out of their house, okay, and they want to do business with the American Embassy, what I would say is that the probability of that person or that business doing business with us is quite low, okay, because most of our procurements are quite big. And unless, of course, that particular business is the only business that is providing a particular service in town, then we might have to work with you, we have no choice, and we'll take the further step of doing whatever other methods are necessary to ensure that you're a credible business and that you will keep your end of the bargain.
So, if I bid for a supply, then do I get a chance to interact with the contracting officer regarding the way? Because the U.S. Embassy may feel that I'm not able to supply goods worth value more than 500 million. You may have a doubt, but on my side, I can say that yes, I'm still a new supplier, a fresh organization, but I still have that capacity and I need to prove it. So give me a chance, and I'm giving you on credit. So still, is there a way where I can contact the contracting officer and get a chance?
Nathan, thank you for asking the question. And unfortunately, the rules and regulations that govern the procurement process are black and white. I cannot make an exception for any person or any entity, okay? So we follow a template, we follow the process, and you may have a chance, depending again on the nature of the contract, where we might invite you for what we call a pre-contract conference, okay, where we might discuss, or if it is, for example, a contract that where we don't know the requirements ourselves, sometimes it happens, and where we need to engage with you and talk to you. But when that does happen, all of the bidders get the same fair chance to engage with the contracting officer. Nobody gets special treatment.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hello, I am Commander King.
Can you raise your hand? I cannot see you.
I am actually behind us.
Oh, over there. Okay, thank you.
Now, mine is simple, and I want a direct answer African way. Now, the new companies like mine, I'm a new graduate, good in technical engineering and everything, but unfortunately, you're talking about experience. So it means some of us, we are wasting time.
That's a good question. I don't think you're wasting time because this is learning experience. And I don't mean that as a joke, right? Every business starts somewhere. In our country, in America, we have a great tradition of incubating startup companies in Silicon Valley. I was working in Silicon Valley for 15 years, right? And we love great ideas, we fund great ideas. But when we talk about, in this particular context, right, as the contracting officer, I have a responsibility to the requesting office to ensure that they get the best service of the goods at the best price. So, I'll be taking a risk on somebody that's not proven yet. So I don't think you're wasting your time. I think you're learning something about how, embassies and large corporations do business, and we tend to be similar in terms of how we do business. I do wish you all the best of luck in your plans for your business in the future. Thank you for coming.
Morning, Mr. Rao. I'm here in the pillar.
Oh, there, okay.
This way?
Oh, there, okay, sorry.
Morning, Mr. Rao. Morning.
Good morning.
My question is, in case I have to import goods from abroad to supply you, can I enjoy tax waivers from government with your arrangement?
Can you repeat the question, please?
In case I import goods from abroad to supply you,
okay,
and the goods reach at the airport or at the borders,
okay,
can I come to you so that I can get waivers from government, because I know that this is an embassy which enjoys waivers?
Good question. The question is, if you're importing goods to sell to us, can you get a tax waiver? The answer is, we buy the goods from you, right? You're no different than anybody else here that's doing business. So you're responsible for doing whatever it takes to get that into the country. Is that the right answer, John? Oh. That is the right answer.
Yeah, my name is Wills.
Oh, okay.
My hand is right here.
Well, thank you for coming.
Thank you. And mine is in regard to the financials, especially when it comes to evaluation. It would appear that in most cases you may find some companies cooking figures. And right now, actually, on the vendor registration form, I can see you emphasizing on knowing the annual sales or revenue, which could actually, in a way or the other, be cooked, especially as it comes to the financials. My request would be, why can you not emphasize on the bank statements, looking at the bank transactions that are being done, as opposed to really putting your efforts onto the financials, which we know can easily be manipulated just across Nkrumah Road? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. Before I came to Uganda as a contracting officer, I was a consular officer in India. And consular officers, they do visa interviews every day. I used to do 120 visa interviews every day where I was serving in India. And I can tell you many stories of all kinds of documents that I saw that were cooked. All right? So I'm well aware of it. And it is an unfortunate reality that tends to happen. Now you're telling me that you cannot cook the annual revenue statement, is it? Then what makes you believe, I'm not convinced that you can't cook bank statements either. right? Can you not cook bank statements? I think the audience agrees that you can. So really, I mean, it's not meant to be a joke. We do take our business seriously, and we look at all sources and all documents we submit in the entirety to make a decision. We don't base it on one number or one document. I think we know what goes on here. We do. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Can you wave? Over there. Okay.
Thank you very much for this opportunity to come and meet you and learn on the opportunities available, and also to grow in our own way in knowledge. I would like to ask, assuming you get a contractor from, say, the US and is implementing a project here, maybe because of standards, you want to have consistency all over your missions abroad, and he requires a local partner to do joint ventures. Do you let the contractor get their own local partner himself, or are there arrangements where you can identify partners from your pre-qualification database?
Okay, you're talking about having a contractor and having a subcontractor, right? Okay, the subcontractor or the contractor can hire the subcontractor on his own. We have no say. Our contract is with the U.S. government, is between the U.S. government and the contractor. If he hires subcontractors, that's fine. We cannot recommend, we can't do anything, but we do hold the subcontractors to the same standards as a contractor. So we look at the subcontractors' employees of the contractor. So they still have to have all this, they have to have all the permits to work there, work here in Uganda. They have to have all the insurance. And I hope that answered your question. Okay, thanks.
I just want to add to that. Like John was saying, we have laws that govern our contracts. For example, we have regulations that govern trafficking in persons, right? So we don't expect you to hire refugees and treat them poorly, right? And we hold the same standards to everybody involved, including subcontractors.
Thank you very much. My name is Nyambe Richard from Toyota Uganda. My question is, we go to the website, we are asked to participate in whatever American Embassy would like to buy. Unfortunately, when the decision is made that this is what we are going to buy, we are not given feedback that Toyota Uganda, you lost this deal because of this, say, price, specifications, and everything that will be considered in the contracts committee. So why aren't we given that opportunity to know so that in future we put things right? Okay. Unfortunately for your bid, I get sad when I see 10 vehicles going through my workshop. I will know that American Embassy bought the cars and you have no option. They must come to Toyota Uganda to do PDI. Right. So we request that you tell us where we lose business against them.
Richard, thank you for coming, and thank you for all the great work that you do for our vehicles. Now, they all seem to be working very fine. I'll get your phone number in case something breaks later on, okay? But, you guys do a great job. And your question was, what kind of feedback do we give to a contractor or to a bidder who does not win the bid? We always send out letters explaining why you lost the bid. We always do. If you didn't get it, talk to me and I'll see why that's the case and we'll fix it. And depending again on the type of contract, we also give you the chance to request a meeting with a contracting officer, right? You can ask for a meeting and say, I want to talk to you and understand what happened. And you have that opportunity. We will let you know. When we send you that letter, when you lose a bid, we'll give you the chance. Unfortunately, it's a short time frame. You only have 3 days or something like that to respond. If you don't, then you lose a chance to talk to a contracting officer. Thank you again, Richard, for coming today and for all the great work that you're doing there in Toyota Uganda.